I know.
Okay. Welcome back to the From the Fabricator podcast. I am your host, Max Pearlstein. Thank you so much for joining me once again for another run through the best of the glass and glazing world. And this month, another, I think, fantastic episode. Guests are off the charts with some of the insight they provide on what they do and how they do it, and just good people too. I'm really excited about all of that. And again, you're not tuning in to see my face or hear my voice. You want to get to the guests, and I do too. So let's just jump to it. There's no need for me to rehash what's going on in our wonderful world, whether it's a recession on the horizon, supply chain messes, so on and so forth. Let's just move positively into these interviews. We kick it off with two brothers that are just absolute rock stars on a rocket ship to the moon. Real pumped up about the Aragons, Joey and Matt. They kick things off from Aragon Construction here on the podcast. And then on the backside of it, Kelly Whittingham from Halio. Halio is a hot product doing some really good things in that space. Quality people, great company. Kelly is just awesome. I think you'll agree after you check out this podcast. So enough of me. I'll catch up with everybody on the end with a movie and a TV show. Let's get it started with Aragon Construction, Joey and Matt. This one's one I've been looking forward to for a while. I am thrilled to have Matt and Joey Aragon of Aragon Construction joining me. Matt is the director of pre-construction, Joey, director of operations. You can find them online at aragonconstruction.com. Two awesome guys that are doing tremendous things, and I can't wait to dig in with them. Matt, Joey, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
We're the lucky ones to be here, Max.
No way. This is all on me. So I love having both of you. You popped up on my radar. I would say a couple years ago. I know you've been around. I know Aragon has been around, but now it's like you guys are on this rocket ship. I'm seeing it all the time. I've got some questions about the culture at your business, which is awesome because I'm seeing that online. But let's start with you guys, and I guess I'll start with you, Matt, and then we'll pop over to Joey. How did you get into this business? I believe it's a family business. I come from a family business. How did you get in? What was your path?
Yeah, so we weren't trying to get into the glass industry. I think there's a whole category of people, probably most of us, that just kind of fell into it, so to speak. And our father started the business in 2001, so we've kind of just grew up around it. Joey and I were, I think 11 years old when we're not twins. We're about a year and a half apart, but I think I was 11 years old when our dad started it. And he started it on our pool table in the back room of our house, put a piece of masonite on the pool table and stacked up spec books about high as you could see. And that's how we started it. And so, when Joey and I were in high school, summertime, we had nothing going on. Our dad was not about to let us sit around the house all summer. So he'd take us down to the shop and we'd, load scaffold in the truck and sweep floors and peel plastic off of panels. So, we weren't heading down this road intentionally. We just kind of fell into it. And, once the glass industry gets its hooks in you, there's no escaping. It's just too fun. There's too many awesome things to do. So
that's right. It's they say once you get in, you never get out, and that's true. Right. And so Joey, I assume you had that same path, and then did you guys both end up at college at the same time? I was looking at your LinkedIn profiles, Cal State Fullerton, right? Was the college.
True.
So were you there at the round? I know you're a year and a half apart. Were you there at the same time then, when all was said and done?
We were. So I obviously was a year ahead of Matt, and I went to Cal State Fullerton on a wrestling scholarship. And that was fun while it lasted, but it's not the path I wanted to go down. I was not happy with college athletics, and I felt like I didn't want to go down a path of, maybe being a wrestling coach or anything like that. Nowadays, I kind of wish that would have been maybe fun. So I went to college first, and my dad, when I wanted to stop doing the wrestling thing, my dad said, well, you have to be doing at least two things with yourself, either sports or school and work. So, if you're going to get out of athletics, then you better get into something else. And so I said, well, what is it that you're doing in here every day? And he said, well, pull up a chair, and, started cracking open the spec books, looking through it. And much like Matt said, we started to really take an interest pretty quick in what was going on, kind of fell in love with the challenge and the constructability side of things. And it's funny because it's not like we ever had this master plan of, get the boys involved, grow the business, any of that. It was kind of like, yeah, I have a job. We have to get it done. You're going to be at the job site this day. You're going to be at the office that day. And we kind of just all figured it out together. And then as time went on, it was like, okay, we have, this job's a little bit big, so we have to really put our time and attention towards it. And next thing you know, me and Matt we went from working in the field, we went through our apprenticeship, we journeyed out. And around that time, the demands of the office started to kind of be a little bit more than what the demands in the field were. So we started to kind of split our time in the office and working in the field and going to school at nights at Cal State Fullerton.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so as time evolved, we kind of just, really our real education and cutting our teeth was kind of project managing projects we had no business managing, and our dad letting us fail. So
I guess, and that's how you learn. You learn a lot faster, and it's good that your dad had that patience. I didn't realize. So you guys were juggling, school and work at the same time, and you did go through the journeyman process and in the field and everything.
we did, yeah. And
Wow.
that was, I mean, one of the most valuable parts of my career is just, seeing it, building it, being involved in layout. I think a lot of the guys that I worked with back in the day would tell you that I'm not the best technician in the world anyway, but it was so good to see it firsthand and understand how the parts go together, how to use a builder's level, all these, really fundamental skills that translate to drawings and really bring them to life. So that was our experience. And like I said, it wasn't like this master plan. It was just, it was needed at the time for the demands of the business.
That's cool. That's cool. And I have to give you credit because you guys survived out in the field. When I gave a shot initially, I didn't want to be in the glass business, but I think I was maybe 14 or 15, and my dad, brought me to work and threw me in the warehouse and said, give it a shot. This was, still high school. I think I was in the warehouse for a day and a half. I had broken so much glass because I'm weak and I couldn't carry it, that my dad looked at me and said, "You're going to be an office person." So and it was not intended to, shirk out of the heavy lifting in the warehouse. I just sucked at it really bad. And then didn't really want anything to do with it until, after college and gave my run at it. But it is in the blood. And so you guys have it like in your blood. Before I move on, is it just the two of you, or do you have other siblings? Do you have other brothers and sisters?
We do. We have 2 older sisters, both of which are not in the business. They have their own careers and families and things like
Nice.
that. But our mom was in the business for a while. Mostly her and my dad started the business out. They were everything. My mom would do all the books, do all the admin, and my dad would run the operations. And just over time, my mom got other interests, interior designing and things like that. And nowadays she's the best grandmother to 10 grandkids. So
Nice.
that is more than a full-time job for her. So she no longer operates in the business, but she's always around it. So
I love it. I love it. And so that, it's funny. It's an interesting thing. So you really did work with your family. And like I had, mentioned to you guys on my outline, I worked with mine. When I finally got into business, I worked with my dad, my brother, my sister, my cousin, you name it, we were all in the business. I didn't want to be in the business. And growing up, I was 10 years younger than my brother and sister. And so they worked every day in the business with my dad. And so it was always my mom and I who weren't in the business. And they would have some really fired up discussions. I may have mentioned it on the blog in the past. I mean, it could get ugly in that dinner table. And my mother would always change the subject with, "Well, how's the weather?" Anything to get us off of, and especially when I joined the business, because, I would knock heads. I was not my brother's brilliant, and I sometimes couldn't understand his brilliance. I was young and stupid, and I'm old and stupid now, but I couldn't understand his brilliance. And so there were times my mother had to jump in family dinners and settle things. So that brings me the long winded question of, you work together. You also work with your dad, you work with your mom. Talk to me about, that's it's an interesting dynamic. It's a tough dynamic. How do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, we are a close family. I actually live right next door to my dad and mom. I bought the house next door to them. So we're just a tight knit family. We spend Sunday dinners together. We do talk a lot about work. There's no doubt about that.
You can't get away from it.
You can't help but talk about, projects and things that are going on in the business when you're having, Sunday dinner. But we get along really well most of the time. I will say we have some heated discussions. Joey will probably agree with that. It's just who we are. It's because we're passionate about what we do.
Sure.
You know, I think that some of those heated discussions are signs of life. You know, if we were just apathetic, we probably wouldn't have those. But generally, Joey and I think, have a really healthy relationship. We like each other. We're friends. But we also just communicate well together. We work through problems together. I would not do this any other way, doing it on my own. Having Joey there, really more palatable along
That's
the
probably
way.
the nicest thing he's ever said to me, and it wasn't even to me, it was to you, Max. So compliments.
That's the last one you get.
I love it. Bringing families back together. That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'll add to that just that, you know, I think one thing that is unique about us is that we have three distinct kind of passions or strength sets, maybe. My dad is really, you know, the wisdom, the experience, kind of a lot of the like old school ways of thinking that in a lot of ways have kind of been lost in a lot of ways in business. And so he's kind of a great foundation. You know, he can build anything, literally anything. And so he has that constructability and, you know, just good habits and discipline. And then my passion is operations types of things, you know, I love processes. I love working with people. I love, you know, order and control and trying to harness that into processes that work for the business. And then Matt, on the other hand, he's more on the sales, estimating, kind of that futuristic, visionary side of things.
Right.
And so the three of us together, I think that if we were all built more similarly to each other, there'd probably be a lot more butting heads. But because we are all kind of have our own unique domains and we respect those spaces for each other, I think that really is what helps us stay in a healthy kind of balanced relationship.
I like it. I like it. That's important. And I also have to clarify, my brother, quote unquote, is brilliant. I said he was. He watches this and listens to this, and he'll kill me and be like, "What? Am I washed up?" No. And so I gotta clean that up, or I'll get crushed again. So let's talk about Aragon Construction. Again, I'm with Matt and Joey Aragon Construction. You can find them online, aragonconstruction.com. The growth that you guys have had has been incredible. Top 50 Glazer list. Hardworking folks. Integrity matters. I love that you had that on your website. I love that you point that out. And I also love the whole Aloha Award. I'd like to know what that is, because I've seen that popping around social media. That's really, really cool. But talk about the company, the growth. I mean, I said at the beginning, it's a rocket ship, and you guys are on your way. How do you feel about it? You know, what's going on in the world of Aragon Construction?
Joey, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. I think that, you know, it definitely has been kind of relatively fast growth. We're a relatively young company. We started, like Matt said, in 2001, so we're 21 years into it. But it doesn't feel like an overnight type of growth to me. You know, obviously, like Matt said, a better part of our lives, a majority of our lives have been in this business. And, you know, I really love the flywheel concept from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, because it takes a lot of momentum to get those pushes going, to get that flywheel started. But then you put energy back into that flywheel and it just keeps going faster and faster. And I really feel like that's what's been kind of our story. You know, in the early days, it was, you know, we'd get a small job, we'd get that done, and then slightly bigger, get a little bit over our skis, and then figure it out, get it done.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of just been a little bit of our dynamic. There have been parts of our history where we bit off more than we could chew, frankly. You know, I'll tell you a little story where we actually, when Matt and I were still in college and kind of coming up through the ropes and everything, we would print out the top 50 Glazers list and pin it to our office door. And we would say, we're going to be on that list one day. And sure enough, a couple of years later, we found ourselves on that list. This was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago or so. And I think back then we learned a hard lesson. We were really focused on growth and we thought we were invincible. And we made it onto the list. We cracked into, I think, number 48, 49. And we were very proud of ourselves, but it was a little bit of a rude awakening because our operation wasn't there yet to handle that level of business.
Right.
So we took some lumps. You know, we had some jobs that were very challenging. We finished them. We licked our wounds for a couple of years, and then we said, we're not going to grow for the sake of growing anymore. we're going to grow not just top line growth, but we want to grow internally. We want to build our processes. We want to hire right. And so the next 8 years or so has been that slow and steady kind of growth where, yes, we do want to get back on that top 50 Glazers list. Yes, we want to be recognized in the industry, but not at the sacrifice of our core values, not at the sacrifice of our quality of life. And so I'm really proud of us for pushing on that flywheel over and over to feel like the growth is really earned and sustainable.
Nice.
So,
Nice. And Matt, what do your thoughts on this whole thing? And also you get to tell me about the Aloha Award.
I will. Yeah. So from the outside looking in, it might seem like it's been very fast growth, but there are no overnight successes, and
Right.
we are no overnight success ourselves. And it's taken a long time to lay foundation and build on processes and scrap old processes that don't work, and find good people. And that in itself is a very difficult challenge these days, as you probably have heard.
Yes.
And so it's none of it's been fast from our perspective. It's been methodical, and we've been trying to make good decisions for a long period of time. And to Joey's point earlier, growth for the sake of growth is kind of dangerous. That's not really our end goal. We want to grow the right way. And to me, putting the right target in front of you is very, very important. Meaning, we want to improve people's lives along the way.
Yeah.
We want this to be a place where the people that work here
Culture.
absolutely love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we try to develop a really strong culture. We also want our clients to benefit from our existence in this industry. We want them to be glad that Aragon is the one servicing their projects.
Yeah.
And then even beyond that, the larger we get, the more product we can deliver to end users. Buildings with glass are just better. It leads to their life experience. So to me, that's the target, is growing so that we can serve those needs, not just to end up higher on that list. So
Cool.
And as
Very
far as
cool.
the Aloha Award goes,
Yeah.
that's very much a part of our culture. We hired a gentleman. His name's Drew. You've probably seen him on LinkedIn. He's phenomenal. We love the guy. And when he joined us, he implemented Aloha Friday, and he created a little award. So we all wear Hawaiian shirts on Friday, and the goal is to have the best Hawaiian shirt. So you get the award that week. So every week we get to hand it off, and it's taken such root that just last week I had an interview for a project, and I wore a Hawaiian shirt that day. Kind of forgot that I had the interview that day, but so I'm on camera giving this presentation with a Hawaiian shirt. So, but they all laughed at it, so they thought it was funny.
Hey, it is about the culture, and I think that's the sort of thing that attracts youth. It attracts people who want to work at a company. And I mean, the last few speeches I've given, and a lot of this I take from people like Tom Jackson from Steel Encounters, who's talked about it at length. Culture is so important, and you have to find that way to get get everybody rowing the boat in the same way and having pride. And jobs can be tough, can be challenging, and sometimes we do a lot of repetitious sort of things, and so you want to spice it up. So I think that's brilliant. Kudos to Drew, and then kudos to you guys for embracing that and pushing forward. I love it. All right, so let's show off some of your great stuff. And Matt, I'll start with you. I wanted to pick your brain on projects that I could show the audience that you guys are proud of. Those of you watching on YouTube, I'll put that up on your screen. Those of you listening on Apple or Spotify, get to YouTube and check it out. These projects. But Matt, what do you want to show off?
Sure. So the project I'm probably most proud of, we actually just finished it not long ago. It's a project called 101 South Marengo. It was really one of our first notable and sizable unitized projects, and it went phenomenally well. Unitized is a bit of a tricky beast. It can be anyway. And our team just absolutely knocked it out of the park. They worked like clockwork. Everything went extremely well. We beat an impossible deadline.
Nice.
It was incredible. And it happened in the middle of COVID. It was, to me, it's successes across the board. There were what seemed like insurmountable problems along the way, and we not only met a really difficult schedule, we beat it.
Nice.
And it just turned out like a fantastic product. The owner was happy, the general contractor was thrilled. It ended up being a beautiful, beautiful building. So I'm happy about that one.
Fantastic. Congrats. And Joey, what's on your hit list?
It's kind of like, our children, you can't pick a favorite. You love them all.
Right.
And they all have their, for me, I'm really proud to have been involved in some of the projects, like doing the Rams SoFi Stadium. That was a really cool project to be involved in. We weren't the only glazing contractor out there, but there was plenty of glazing scope to share. And it was just a really cool, very hyped up project. It went very smoothly for us. Very well coordinated, great team, great general contractor, joint venture team. And then just some of the other projects that we've done around Los Angeles and California. We did a glazing package for the Wilshire Grand, was a great project for us.
Nice.
Done a lot of, projects like Monterey Conference Center was a really beautiful project with, some, a lot of custom glazing systems, decorative glazing, some stainless steel decorative, things like that. So it's, like I said, it's kind of hard to pick one, but I think Matt could probably share some pictures and show you that the types of projects that we really like to embrace are the ones that have some unique elements. Maybe it's not just storefront or curtain wall, but maybe there's some interesting, metal or ornamental or decorative stuff that goes along with it. So yeah, it's hard to pick one, but I like them all, and then they're all challenging. So
I like it. And so you guys search out the ones that are a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more specialty, and that's helps separate you from the masses too.
That's right.
Exactly. And that's part of our background too. Our dad, Joe, he came up through the trade doing not just glazing. In fact, he did stainless steel, ornamental metals. He did some sheet metal panels, obviously glazing. So he has a very mixed bag. He actually, as he came up and started this business, he acquired, I think, 7 specialty licenses for a real breadth of work. So, over the years, we've kind of been more targeted in which of those packages we want to take on. But I do agree that we like things that have a little bit more of a unique aspect to it that other glazers might say, I don't really want to mess with that. And then, for us, sometimes we can offer it as a package, which makes the general contractor's life a little bit easier.
And so I assume that's also where the impetus of the name of Aragon Construction comes from versus being Aragon Glass and Glazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, so that's true. We do have a diverse background, and over the years we have definitely, kind of deepened our route in like certain types of glazing projects, because as we all know, the industry is so vast that you almost don't want to spread yourself too thin. And so that's been something that's been kind of a maturing process for us as a business, is as we do grow, as we do scale, sometimes we have to say no to other projects and packages that we formerly would take on.
Right.
And now it's been a little bit more selective about which one fits our current company, our current strengths. So that's been a little bit of an evolution for us.
No doubt. And you know what, in this day and age also, you have to be somewhat selective because of what we're up against supply chain wise, price escalation wise. Pre-COVID, you could take something that's 3 years in advance and kind of know where the pricing would land. And now, I mean, you don't even know where the pricing will land tomorrow, sort of thing. And it's crazy out there. And
it's so funny you say that. Yeah, that's been a major challenge for us. Is so much of our work is in the design assist, and we're giving budgets, sometimes years before the project comes to fruition. And I can't tell you what the price difference from last month to today is. It's very difficult to give educated information when there's been so much volatility. That how do you even make assumptions into the future? It's been very, very challenging. But our general contractors have been good. They understand that we're not the only ones going through that. I think that's going to be one of the bigger challenges going forward for sure.
And full credit to you, Matt, because you're on the sales side, so you're kind of a little bit more on the front lines. How do you have all your hair after all of this? So
I actually have a bald spot happen. No,
I mean, I give you a lot of credit because that's got to be, I'm sure you're just getting questions and it's there's no there's just no answers.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I think glass is probably one of the bigger concerns for general contractors, but not the biggest. So we're not the only ones they're having these conversations with. And so, it's inevitable, the market escalation is happening. It's not anything that any one person can do. It's bigger than all of us. It's a lot of it's tied back to commodity pricing, and no one player is big enough to influence commodity pricing. So
And I think the beautiful thing about what you guys have talked about, and it's kind of nailed it, is kind of what Joey was talking to earlier, is that, you've kind of cleaned house. You've figured out the best things that you're best at. You've licked your wounds. You've learned from the past, and now you've got a good enough operation, a strong enough operation, and continues to evolve that you can be resilient in these very tough times. Because you've built that foundation so good. You're not kind of, if maybe this happens, 10 years ago, it could be a different story. You guys, the lessons learned from the past are really, benefiting you now. That's at least the way
That's
I'm
right.
seeing it.
Yeah,
Nice.
I 100% agree. Yep.
Nice. Well, all right. Switching gears to something fun. This year I've thrown in the fun questions, and it's funny. People like the glass questions, and they love when you go into your past. But then the most feedback I get from people is like, I can't believe that guy likes that athlete or that sport or whatever the case may be. So for you two, I'm asking favorite TV shows of all time and why. And so Matt, I'll start with you. Hit me. What's your must see TV, and I'll share mine when we're all said and done, unless you guys guess
Sure.
what mine is.
Yeah, I actually lost sleep over this question. Probably the hardest question to answer so far. Went back and forth between old shows, new shows, and settled in on The Office.
Nice.
100%. The Office is by far my favorite show. We used to have it playing nonstop in the background. Even if we weren't watching TV, it was just, that sound is going to be forever ingrained in my head.
And you could pick it up. You could pick it up in any episode and know exactly what's going on. That's the best part about that show. And that can never go wrong. And it was on for a couple of years before my friend Jeff Zishi got me into it, and I bought the DVDs. I mean, that's how old the show is. And I love The Office. Great choice, Matt. Great choice.
Oh, yeah.
Joey, what's yours?
Well, because Matt took The Office, I had to think about this one too. And I have to confess that my wife and I, our guilty pleasure is watching trash TV. We call reality TV trash TV.
Yeah.
One of our favorite shows within the reality TV space is Survivor. It's
huge.
It's one of the longest running shows, and we got into it only during COVID when it started popping up on Netflix.
Yeah.
And we deep dive. We watched every season, some of them multiple times.
Yep.
We got to know all the names, and so much so that Matt and I have joked around about putting together an application tape and getting on there one day.
Oh,
so
that would
we'll
be
see.
Huge. That's a big one in my family. We watch it. We watch it every season. Love it. And fantastic. I mean, the currency, by the time this podcast airs, the current season will be over, but this current season's been a wild one. As well. I don't like some of the twists, the do or die twists. I don't like, because, how could you get voted off for doing nothing, picking the wrong box? Sort of thing. But I do love Survivor. Great choice. And so
I'm a Survivor purist as well. I like the original seasons, the way that it's just a game. But yeah, I mean, they're all entertaining to watch, especially because it's new, so it's new episodes to consume. But yeah, I'm right there with you. It's a great show.
And you guys would do great. You guys would do great on there. I mean, because you have the social game, and you guys are in great shape, so you have the physical game. I think either one of you going on there could be good, or the two of you doing Amazing Race as a pair would be fascinating too.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you might be talking us up too much, Max. And if we ever get on the show, there's going to be a target on our back.
That's true.
Let everyone down.
You'd have to be like when I think Jeff Kent of San Francisco Giants was on there, and he didn't tell anybody he was a professional baseball player. You guys would have to hide that you are stars in the glass and glazing industry. Because once they found out that you were studs in our industry, forget it. It's over. You're going to get voted off right away.
I appreciate you hyping us, but I don't know if it's due.
Well, but I'm gladly you're a hype man, and my favorite, and people may know, may not know, I love Breaking Bad. That's that one has a special place in my heart for a lot of reasons. Fantastic show, but it was when I decided to get in shape. A friend of mine had told me, you get on the treadmill, you get on the elliptical, and you find a show you like. And I'd never seen it because my kids were small, when it came out, and it's not obviously a family show. Started to watch it, and that, I couldn't get off the elliptical half the time because I was like, oh, I got to see the next episode. So love Breaking Bad. So that's mine. But I love your choices, and you both caught me off guard. I like that. That was good. All right. So a couple more, because I know you guys are swamped, and a couple more before I let you go. I love the dedication that the two of you bring. The reason I'm part of that hype man is I'm a big industry guy. I think you guys know that. I love what we have going. And I really, really get fired up when people give of themselves to this industry. And so, Joey, on this one, I'll start with you. You're now new on the installing committee at NGA. you've got 700 balls in the air at the same time, and now you've added this. What drove you to do this and step up for the industry?
It's a great question. I mean, I was driven mostly by the people being so inviting and welcoming, NGA staff, the volunteers that are already on the installing committee. You have Matt Camper, the chair of the installing committee, Steve Dean, still involved in the committee. I mean, just great guys and so generous with knowledge. I feel like anything me and Matt have gotten from this industry has been the generosity of someone passing along knowledge, whether it's at conferences, whether it's at, trade associations like NGA, peer groups, things like that. So I feel like as we have any level of success in this business, it's such an important thing for us to get involved and share anything that we have to offer. And I feel like Matt and I have, I guess we're considered younger in the industry, although I don't feel that way. I feel like, we're starting to get our gray hairs and all that. But we have a unique perspective that I think we kind of bring. We're kind of on the bubble between, that millennial generation. Matt and I kind of barely make the cutoff of that. So we kind of speak to languages of a very transitional industry. So if we have anything to offer, it's just some insights from both sides. I feel like I can put my dad's hat on and understand where he comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can put on, the younger person's hat that we're not too far out of reach from. So I love being involved, continuing to learn, and I love how welcoming everyone is with their knowledge. So if I can play a tiny role in that, then it's just part of that, that paying it forward.
Nice. And I like that. And Matt, for you, the My Glass Class thing, the education angle, when I saw the video of you talking about My Glass Class and the effect that it had on what you guys do there, it was like, you get it. I knew you got it, but then that just kind of solidified it. The importance of education and what it's done for you guys. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, so my glass class, it's been great for us. I mean, I can't put myself in anybody else's shoes, but for us, it works. We have the same people challenges that everybody else is having, and I could tell you 100%, it's not going to get easier.
No.
The water level in the talent pool is only getting lower. So we better find a better way to bring people into the industry. And if we're trying to bring in multiple people, that's a lot of strain that it puts on teaching if we're not finding better ways to do it. And we've found that My Glass Class has just been a great way to do that. They can, at their own time, at their own pace, open up a screen and be trained. And so it's been great for us. I can't really find anything better for it. It's been fantastic. So I'm a big proponent, even if it's not just for our own direct benefit, maybe not people in our company. The industry needs more talent. It needs more people. And the graduating class is taking all their knowledge with them. And so we need to find ways to transfer that knowledge. So, I can't speak highly enough about it. I'm not paid by NGA to do that. It's working for us. So I wanted to pass that on to anyone else.
Appreciate that. And that's, you're dead on. I mean, the talent pool is disastrous. And so you have to make the best of what you have. And, you have to take care of these resources, and that's a great resource. So I'm glad you've taken advantage of it. So a couple more questions. Again, I'm with Matt and Joey Aragon Construction. Find them online, aragonconstruction.com. The hot glass and glazing product right now, is there one for each of you or both of you that you think is a game changer in our space?
Oof.
I stumped you.
That's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough one for me, because this is part of why I listen to your podcast, Max, is that you have such great, innovative people that really, I feel like, have such a 50,000 foot level view of this industry and what's coming down. This is why I go to the conferences. This is why I participate in NGA. It's hard for me to share anything that your listeners probably haven't already heard of.
Cool. Okay.
I'll just share from my operations side of things that one thing that I'm excited about, that I see more helping businesses like ours, is really just the accessibility of softwares and management type softwares. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name drop or anything like that.
You can. Yeah.
Just tools that are out there like, Trello, Monday.com, things like that, that are really just easy to use, almost DIY softwares that you can really help build processes around, where otherwise it used to be files and binders and things like that. So we as a company, it used to be, and in some ways it still is, custom made ERP softwares that companies run on, very expensive, hard, a lot of cost to maintain. And I think that as software's evolved in other industries and our industries are starting to use them, Procore, PlanGrid, things like that, companies like ours that are able to embrace those and make them more employee and team friendly, those are things that to me are exciting because I feel like we can do more the more we embrace those things. So that to me is a great shift that I see our industry going towards is really embracing more technology and harnessing it at every level of the company.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Matt, do you have anything to add to that one, or did Joey cover that really well for you?
That Joey's good on that. I'm not a process guy quite like Joey, but I would say I'm really excited to see what vacuum insulated does in the industry. I think that there's some potential there. I think it's still early in development, but I think if the brilliant minds that are behind that can get it to production level, I think that that's going to be a game changer for climate change. I think that that's very important. Obviously, it's we need to make some change in the industry and how we're skinning buildings, and I think vacuum insulated could be a silver bullet for us.
So. I like it. Yeah, a few different players in that. Vitro. I had Ricardo Meiss on a couple months ago, and they're big into it. And Michael Spellman from VIG Technologies, who's connected with Vitro. I've had him on, and again, I think you're right. VIGs get real interesting, and you're right. It's just it has to get over that hump, and I think that they've got it figured out. But now they've got to really push it commercial, and that's to come. That's to come. That's a good one. So pretty much the last question, other than wrapping up, the thing that you're worried about and the thing you're excited about going forward. I think we're all worried about the same things, but I'm really curious what's on your minds. I'll start with you, Matt, on this one. What are you worried about? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I think I already mentioned this, but I think I'm most worried about new talent in the industry.
Right.
I think that our industry has we lose a lot of people, especially as the previous generation, like I said, graduates on. I don't think we're backfilling that fast enough. And so I think that we're all industry-wide competing for the same resource of good talent. And as that resource gets more and more scarce, that increases the price of that resource, and that lends itself to higher pricing in the facades. So that to me is probably my biggest concern. I think that obviously we're seeing lots of volatility with products and things like that, but those are going to correct eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But the talent pool, we have to find a better way to attract talent. I do think my glass class is a way to do that, taking away the barriers to enter and the barriers to stay in the industry. So yeah, that's what I would say is worrying me the most right now.
Okay.
And as far as what I'm excited about,
yeah.
I mean, there's still a ton of opportunity out there. I think that the industry is still looking very good. I think that people are looking into the future and maybe projecting a slowdown, but I don't think it's going to be a screeching halt. I'm thinking it's going to be a soft landing. I'm not an economist. I listen to the same economists everyone else does.
Right.
But I think that there's still, even though it's a slower market than it was a year ago, it's still pretty hot, and there's just a ton of opportunity out there. And so I'm really excited to see some of the awesome projects we're going to be going after.
Can't wait. And Joey, how about you?
I think that my fear from the operations side of things is that as the economy is unknown and no one really knows what's coming down the pipe, that the relationships might be strained. For the work we already have on hand, people get a little bit scared. People think that the work's going to dry up, and general contractors might start to get a little bit more tight-fisted because we're coming out of this really, high tide type of season.
Right.
And especially coming out of COVID, where we're all learning how to live in more of a hybrid workspace, I really hope that those kind of relational touch points don't vaporize on us.
Yeah.
And that coming out of COVID and unknown economy coming forward, that we can all as an industry and with our trade partners continue to have prosperity together and not clamp things down out of fear. So that's my, I guess, fear / hope that we don't go down a path of letting our fear drive how we do business.
Right.
And shortchange those relationships that need human touch to prosper. That's kind of my fear. And I guess my excitement is, I agree with Matt. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. speaking mostly for us, we are predominantly in the California market. We're right next to Los Angeles, and a couple other major counties like that have just a lot of work and development. And it's really exciting to be close to that type of development, because there's just so much work to go around. There's so many iconic projects being built. And I, for one, am excited to see our industry be able to feast on that for longer. And beyond that, I no one knows, like Matt said, but I'm hopeful about what's going to be built in the near term that we can see.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you dead on, dead on. All right. Well, I appreciate it. I've been with Matt and Joey Aragon Construction. Matt's the director of pre-construction, Joey, the director of operations, and they're at aragonconstruction.com. Check them out. And I assume, unless the two of you are on Survivor season 43, that you'll be at Glassbuild?
Oh, that's something I have to clarify. My wife is she's expecting. We're expecting baby number 2.
Hey, congrats! Awesome.
Thank you very much. Very, very excited about that. And the unfortunate part of that is our due date is October 30th.
Oh wow. Okay. So we're not seeing you at Glassbuild.
Well,
no.
I might have to remote in. I don't know. But if the baby comes sooner and we want to make a family trip out of it, maybe. But there.
No, yeah, absolutely. We'll catch you. We'll catch you at BEC the following year. But no, you're homestead on that one, my friend. There's.
I, on the other hand, will be there. I'm having no baby. I actually, funny enough, at BEC I couldn't make it because I had a baby. Well, my wife had a baby. So.
I love it. Yeah, because I was going to ask you. I didn't see you at BEC. I had seen Joey, and of course confused you and Joey, because I said I'm not the smartest one, so I screwed that up. But congrats on the baby, and sorry you missed BEC, and obviously I look forward to seeing you at Glassbuild, and again, congrats on all the blessings. You guys are absolute rock stars. I'm thrilled that you took the time with me today, and only the best to you and the families going forward.
Thank you so much, Max.
Thanks,
really
Max.
having us on.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. All right, I am thrilled. Next guest, and this is an exciting one for me, Kelly Whittingham, director at Halio North America. You can find them online at halioinc.com. It's HALIOINC.com. And Kelly, I am thrilled to have you on the podcast. I can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Your podcast is quite famous in our industry.
Well, I try, and I guess, for me, I'm just pumped to, get to know you, get to know Halio, and that's exciting. And just, be able to kind of chop it up here for the next little bit about, our world. And I love also talking to, someone like yourself, a powerful woman who's really grown in this industry and a role model for so many others coming up. And so that's got me excited to have you on for that reason as well.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. So let's start with your past and where you came from. I know you're a Buckeye, and that pains me because I'm a Bobcat and I live in Michigan. So that is like the double whammy of being from Ohio U. We have this complex against folks from Ohio State, and then living in Michigan, you're not even allowed to say the words Ohio and State together. So yep. It's tough for me, but I'm going to give it a pass. I'm going to set it aside because I'm thrilled you're my guest today. Let's talk about your past. How in the world did you work your way through this construction world to the point now that you're doing great things with Halio? Talk to me about your past.
Oh, absolutely. And I will tell you, we're not allowed to say the M word in Ohio. We call it the team up north.
Team up north. That's right. That's right. I like it. Okay.
So obviously I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, incredible parents, wonderful brothers and sisters and piles of cousins. And we all went to Ohio State. And there's one caveat. My brother went to William & Mary, but he was so smart. He skipped grades and they had to give him college course classes when he was in high school because they didn't have anything else to do with him. But
I love it.
We're all Buckeyes. Anyhow, I actually started my career at Eli Lilly Pharmaceutical.
Okay.
And honestly, to this day, that still, I think, was my favorite job in my life.
Okay.
I learned so much there.
Mm-hmm.
I was young and I was ready to learn, and I had this great work ethic, and it was just a match made in heaven because that culture there was incredible. So I started as a space planner, and I had the really glamorous job of updating all the as-builts. So that meant I had to get out the Mylars. You remember that stinky solution you had to paint on the lines to make them erase?
Yeah.
That was my life, erasing the lines and drawing in the as-builts. But they allowed me to move forward so much that by the end of my 2 years there, I was actually managing, like light construction projects.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. People, I'll tell you one story about a woman I worked for. Her name was Mary Lou Firstnell, and she grew up in Mexico. And so she got American sayings a little off, and she was trying to say, Kelly Clunk, well, that was my maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
You're always putting your nose to the grindstone, but instead it came out as go put your face in the grinder.
That's the glass
so
industry.
She lived for me in my world for that.
That's what you're doing now. You're putting your face in the grinder because that's the glass industry.
Pretty much. Well, I guess it was a precursor to my career. From that, I moved to Northern Virginia in 1991, and I worked in the interiors world.
Okay.
So I worked for Herman Miller, and then I worked for Knoll.
Right.
Still love so many of the classics there, and I think that's really where I learned the importance of that super attention to detail was with the Knoll folks.
Gotcha.
But right after I was at Knoll for a while, and then I caught the startup bug.
Okay.
And I worked for a company called Dirt, doing it right this time.
Yep. Know them well.
And it was really early days. And I loved it because, I went to design school and we just drew everything. So I had never become accustomed to working with CAD. And here I was able to work this software and render it 2-dimensionally and 3-dimensionally and have the product listing right away. So I thought I was genius. But those were some really exciting times. That was the infancy of that company. And then I'll tell you, I was always in the interiors world since, I was first out of college. And I married a man who's a general contractor.
Okay.
And I have to say, I always admired that at the end of the day, he can step back and say, we built that.
Yeah.
And so I endeavored to go into the base building world, which I jumped into with Smart Glass in 2014.
Okay.
And again, those were very early days, very exciting, lots of, teamwork trying to figure out, how to get this product sold. And then eventually I saw the Halio product and was love at first sight. I realized this is a product that finally listened to what the commercial real estate market wanted.
Right.
So
right.
that brings us to today.
Nice. And let's talk a little bit about Halio because you like you said, the electrochromic world has been around for a bit and it's had its evolution. And then I think you guys came in and you figured out, okay, we need to do things different and better and so on. You learn those lessons from the past. And then kind of went forward with really, your growth and your approach to the market's really smart, in my opinion. You're doing it the right way. You're not over promising and under delivering sort of thing. You're doing it all the right way. Talk about the difference makers at Halio versus, what other options may be out there.
Yeah. And you've nailed a couple of them already. I can tell you that Halio really is the most advanced smart glass technology in the market today. And it's really twofold. First, our technology is the best where it matters. Okay. So what that means is we are the fastest tinting. Some of the legacy technology out there, takes 30 minutes and we're real time.
Right.
Also, the color is this beautiful, soft, neutral gray versus the legacy, which I'm sure you've seen.
That's a big issue. That was a big issue is that people were turned off by the colors, in the color shift aspect of it. So you've kind of nailed that one.
And it's not just the color inside, it's also the color from the outside. And I was always impressed with developers who were educated and, would pick up on details like that. But we're faster. We have a beautiful color. We have uniformity, and I'll explain what that is. The entire face of the glass tints at once. It's not this slow moving technology in towards the middle or from the top down. And then the other thing that we do is we provide unlimited tints. So the sun comes in tint levels.
Right.
We're not going to just give you 3 chunks. We're giving you, the tint levels that are going to match the environment that you're living in.
So you're Phoenix is different than Chicago, basically is what you're saying. And so you can tint to match the region and the area that you're in.
Well, the intelligence is always tinting real time, and it's
Okay,
tinting
got it.
just the amount
Okay,
that you
nice. I
need.
didn't know that. Okay, that's so you're evolving as it goes. Okay, that's
And
huge.
because it's got that beautiful neutral gray and it's soft, we actually, in unlimited tint levels, it always looks clear when you're looking out.
Nice.
And then ultimately what we're doing is we're harvesting daylight, which is terribly important. There's all sorts of studies that tell us, when we get more daylight into our lives, we sleep better, we're more productive, we're more alert, we're just in general, happier people.
Yeah.
But we've got the best technology and then the best market approach. So what we've done is we've decoupled our technology from the IGU fabrication.
Okay.
So all of the geniuses, all the people at Halio, we focus on making it the best technology there is.
Right.
And then we're fortunate enough to partner with the best fabricators in the industry.
Yes.
And this allows both partners to thrive and really end up delivering the most amazing smart glass that you've ever seen.
Yeah, and one such partner is Viracon, and obviously, they're one of the biggest and the best around. I love those guys. Garrett Henson is a friend. At least I consider him a friend. He probably maybe doesn't consider me a friend, but I consider him a friend.
He does.
Great man. And I like so many of the folks there. That connection was huge for you guys. I mean, that is a big time game breaking thing. And that's, along with the others, it's not like you're playing with some great people, and that's got to make you feel good. And also it lends immediate legitimacy to your product line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it gives customers confidence. So I was trying to think of one word that would sum it up, and there really isn't one. They're just such an incredible, wonderful company and an incredible culture. I'll tell you, the least tenured person, Max, that I've met there has been there 14 years.
Yeah.
And because they've been there so long, their knowledge is unbelievable. Their grasp of the fine details, and they can switch from topic to topic, is really impressive. And the other thing that you'll notice from person to person to person is service. We want to service our clients. That's everyone's goal all day long.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt that they also deliver the most beautiful, incredible flattest glass in the market. So that really helps.
That's true.
I'll tell you something else that's really, kind of humbling for us is, as we're meeting with developers and investors, I would say, honestly, at least 70 to 80% of them already know of Aragon and say, yes, I'm a loyal customer. I go nowhere else.
Right.
And then as soon as you hear that, they'll say, and these are the best coatings, because everyone has their favorite coatings.
Yeah, no doubt. I it was years ago, but I was at a lunch and learn with a different low E supplier. And it was an hour presentation, or the 45-minute, presentation, went through this whole spiel about their double silver low E and so on and so forth. And then asked for questions. And the first question was, can it be used with VE12M from Viracon? That was the first question. And the poor guy just immediately dropped his head, because it just went over everybody's head, because you're right, that loyalty, and that's great for Halio. I mean, congrats to you guys. I mean, that was a heck of a connection, and it will be a nice one going forward for sure. You have to be thrilled with it.
Well, it's not just a heck of a connection. It's a true partnership. There's really been an exchange of knowledge. Obviously, they're giving us a lion's share, but it's wonderful how we're, walking together. And the whole goal is just to deliver the best smart glass in the world. So we're very excited about what this partnership brings now and into the future. The other thing I'll tell you, Max, is, Viracon, and their reputation. They could have worked with anyone, and they chose Halio. So we endeavor to honor that choice every single day.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. I like it. All right. Breaking up the heavy business talk with a fun one. I'm curious. Do you have a quote or a mantra or something that you live by? What drives Kelly Whittingham each day, or you look to kind of keep you level?
Uh, that's a fun question. I will say I don't have like, a really, quick Mark Twain quote to give
Right.
you. I think it's really kind of two things. I mentioned that I grew up with a terribly smart brother, very talented, and my sister at age 6 was an elite gymnast.
Okay.
And I always knew I don't have that talent, but when I was waiting tables, I realized I don't need that talent. What I have is, the ability to out hustle anyone,
Hmm.
and a great work ethic. So I think the first thing that did is give me confidence in who I am, and,
Yeah.
and what I can do. And the other thing that I think I endeavor to live by every day is honesty.
Yeah.
Obviously parents, instill that in you. And I'm really fortunate to be married to a man who believes the same thing. But there's nowhere more important, to have honesty than construction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because, construction, it's not if something's going to go wrong, it's when,
Yeah,
right?
and it's where people you can count on. That's why we're such a relationship based industry. You want that level of ethics and trust and care and honesty, and those who aren't are the ones that may flash and be big for a while, and then they fade away because they don't have that. And so it's nice. I like that you have that, for sure.
I would 100% agree. And I think out of that, because of construction and what you just said, what I've learned is bad news is best delivered in person.
Yes.
And as you're working through the solution, that's where you build those long-term relationships. That's what it's built on, honesty and, and pulling up your sleeves and working together.
That's good. That's good. And I too grew up with an extremely talented brother who I am
Did you?
in the shadows of, because he's about a billion times better than I am. And so, not that yours is a billion times better than you, but mine's a tough act to follow. That's for sure. So I do that each and every day. He's good. And plus I got a great sister too, who's no slouch. So I have the same sort of scenario that we battle to make our own way. And my word that I live by is from my dad, and it's patience. And it's just
Oh,
that simple word of patience. And sometimes I need to remind myself of that, but that's important. For I look at it with what you're going through with Halio. You're relatively like a startup, a tough industry,
yeah.
and people are saying, hey, how does this all work? How much can you sell? How much can you move? And the industry, this glass industry, construction industry, can move very slow sometimes, and you have to have patience for things to break, in my opinion. So that's where I come
Well
from on,
said.
on that one. Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk about the market on electrochromic. And obviously, you guys are one of the newer folks to the market. There's some others that have been in a while, the legacy folks. How has been the growth of Halio and your acceptance? Because it's tough being, kind of a, newer when you've had a couple legacy people already in the space.
Um, I'll tell you that, when we first started in years ago, it was all about, explaining this is what electrochromic glass is, and this is what smart glass does. And now I say it's very rare that I go into meetings where people haven't heard or understand the concept.
That's good.
So that's wonderful. The other thing I'll say, I'm not telling you anything new. This is a terribly challenging market right now.
Yes. Yes.
But this is also when you see the true inspired leaders,
Hmm.
right? I had an old boss that used to say, when the market crashes or when things get tough, the accountants run for the hills and they slash talent and they close factories and, they pinch pennies, hoping to weather the storm. But the inspired leaders, they still move forward,
Yeah.
not randomly, but they move forward with some good, bold decisions.
Yep.
And they come out of a challenging time like this, 10 times better than others. Leaders that are choosing to work with smart glass are learning that their building is leasing up faster,
Hmm.
at a higher rate per square foot. And not only are they going to weather the storm, but it's going to pay dividends for years.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And you got to always have that plan. That's for sure. So I'm glad it's settling in and you're finding your way. It's sometimes tough when you're a newer player to a spot. And I think you guys have done a nice job on moving forward. Obviously, some of the partnerships make a big difference too. So talking about the market itself, obviously you mentioned it's a challenging time out there right now on a lot of levels. But it's interesting the way construction is hung in there. When we look at some of the future metrics, they look pretty solid. At least in my opinion, 2023 looks pretty solid. Obviously, things can change. We are in a fast-moving universe. How are you guys seeing the marketplace for your product in the rest of 2022 and 23 and beyond? Is it positive, or are you, are you a little nervous? What's the feel on the Halio side of things?
I do think smart glass is inevitable. That's my feeling. That's how much the market is sort of excelling. And I can talk to you about the market from my perspective.
Right.
I'm not an analyst, so I'm not going to, quote a bunch of data. What I can tell you, Max, is the pipeline is moving. It's growing and moving. So the opportunities are there, for the asking, and it is a lot. It's finally like gotten off that stall that it was in. And if you talk to anyone today, architects, developers, especially all the big firms, they'll say there's a ton of pent up demand. So just wait till the floodgates open. And what I can tell you is because of the way we go to market, we can scale to meet that demand as the floodgates open. So I got nothing but good here.
I like it. I'm with Kelly Whittingham, director at Halio North America. You can find them online at halioinc.com. Check them out. Check out the website and learn more about the product. If you're not aware of it, you probably should be. I'm sure most that watch or listen to this are familiar with it. But there are, every month that I do this, I do hear from people that say to me, "Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that person. I did not know that product." So this I think is another one to be able to introduce what Halio's doing in the market and how you're going at it. And I'm excited to pick your brain on it today. This has been fascinating. I did not know. I have to circle back. I did not know about the tinting, the real real time. That's one that went right over my kind of mushy brain there. So that's impressive. That's a big advantage that you have, big time.
It's huge. It makes a world of difference. But Max, I have a question for you.
Please.
So when I'm out to dinner with clients, have you ever been out to dinner with clients and no one's talking and you're like, what can I do?
Dead air is the worst. Dead air is the worst.
So I have this question that I ask everyone and everyone has to answer it.
I love it.
And it gets people talking. And it also tells you a lot about the person. So the question I ask is, what's the first album you ever got? And the first concert you ever went to? So Max Pearlstein, far away.
Wow, you're turning the tables on me, and I love it. And music's a big thing for me, and for sure. So I love the question. First it was Journey, which was the Journey album that had. Husband. That I think it was maybe Departure, which the one that had separate ways on it. That I love Steve Perry, love Journey. So I believe that was the first one. First concert is a tough one. I want to say it was Huey Lewis and the News. Was my first concert. Back in the 80s. And so I believe that was my first one. How about you? So now that you put it to me, tell me.
So my first album was the greatest album ever. Yeah. Carole King Tapestry.
Wonderful. I assume you've seen her Broadway show.
I have not. My sister has been twice and she keeps rubbing it in.
How could you not have seen that show? It's everywhere. Right. You have to, Kelly, next time to New York or
I know, and I can sing every song, which
you need to see.
Maybe that's why they won't let me go, because I would sing every song.
The show's fantastic. The show is absolutely fantastic. So you need to see that. It's always out there. And then your first concert?
I saw John Denver at Music Park outside, and he said "Far Out" 38 times.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, that's Country Roads, John Denver. It's good stuff. Stuff. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I have to ask, somewhat off topic. You were at your first BEC this year. What did you think of BEC?
It was wonderful. And like you are highlighting women in construction, it was wonderful to see, such a diverse crowd. And I did think that they curate the speakers very well. I thought that was pretty informative. And, so many of us go to those things and we're there for business, but we're also there to learn. So
Yeah.
I love that.
No, I'm glad. And, I give credit to NGA's Melanie Detmer, who's been great pushing for, the women in construction, the effort of trying to bring more and more spotlight to that. And we're working on something for Glass Build for that as well in October. So we'll keep you posted on that, because if that happens, obviously you need to be there. So we got to make sure you're involved.
We'd love to.
Because that'll be good. Well, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
Thank you, Matt.
I was with Kelly Whittingham, still with Kelly Whittingham, Halio North America, halioinc.com. Thank you very, very much for taking the time with me. And I look forward to seeing you at one of these shows. You didn't get to see you at BEC. I missed you. So I look forward to seeing you in person one of these days. And I promise I won't talk about the school up north.
Sounds good. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
All right, bye.
All right, we wrap things up. Again, thrilled with Joey and Matt Aragon Construction, thrilled with Kelly Whittingham, and from Halio, tremendous stuff here on the From the Fabricator podcast. Thank you again for tuning in, listening, and supporting these efforts for the glass and glazing industry. Before I let you go, as I do each month, something fun, something different. Movie, obviously, if you have not seen Top Gun, are you okay? Do you need your temperature taken? You got to go see this movie. If you haven't seen it, I don't care if you don't like Tom Cruise, whatever the case may be, tremendous movie, fun, interesting. It checks all the boxes. It takes your brain off the craziness in our world for 2.5 hours. Just go see it. Top Gun, definitely. I just think it's good. It's not going to win the Oscars or anything like that, but it's going to leave you in a good spirit when you walk out of the theater, and that's really all that matters. Good entertainment. TV show, I'm into this Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix. It's a typical light show that was kind of one of those things. David E. Kelly, who wrote it, who I think did LA Law and some other shows. So it was in that vein. It's got the right formula. It's got really good, interesting actors, a little different. You don't see a lot of these folks. Nev Campbell's in it. She's probably the most popular person in the whole field. But Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix, good stuff. And of course, Top Gun in the theaters. Check that out. All right, thank you so much for joining. Next month, lined up some excellent people. We'll work to get them on the podcast, and then I've got some neat things going on for the rest of the year, including an on-site podcast setup that we're working on. We've got Glass Build coming up. We got Glass Tech coming up. Lots of good stuff. Can't wait. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you again next month.
Oh, the music is stopped.